I was first asked to speak about healing and wholeness, I thought, oh, perfect, this is a good subject for me. I mean, I'm in charge of the divine healers, and I'd set up this. I'd set up the group along with Gary Wassenaar and Sarah Hood and Kalinda back there in the corner. It was just the four of us. It started off the Divine Healers group. This was back in 2018. And the thing has grown over the years. We had several different things in mind when we wanted to start it up. We wanted to make sure that we were creating community with the healers. And so we started having potlucks on the first Saturdays, usually at 5 o'clock. And we get together, we talk, we have a question that we get to discuss. And given all the different modalities and stuff that people are coming from, it gets very interesting to learn from each other in our life experiences. Jenna also happens to have a saltwater hot tub, so that's a little fun too. Now, the main event, there we go, was our third Saturday events. We end up setting up different stations around the room here. We form a circle in the center. We have people come in at 2 o'clock, do a little bit of introductions, and then all the different healers get to introduce themselves. And the idea is that the people get to get a chance to connect with the different healers. And then we break after 15 minutes. We sign up for the different healers, and you get a chance to just feel what the different healing modalities are like. Another one. All right. And then we have the annual Bend Healer Fairs, which are another big event. This is in November, typically. These have been going on for 33 years. We'll have the 34th annual event coming up in November this year. Reverend Eileen Locke was the one who had started these things up, and it just made a lot of sense when she retired after 30 years to continue the tradition. So we took over the event. So now you got a little context of what the Divine Healers is about, and now I'll get going with my talk. The journey of a healer often starts in tragedy. I was 12 years old, and my father and I were headed home from the Salem Free Methodist Church, and from the service. It was dark, and it was very foggy. We were on a country road. It was 55 miles per hour, and it came to a stop sign. We stopped, barely, behind two cars. The drunk in the half-ton truck behind us, however, did not. I don't know how long I was out, but when I came to, I noticed that the car door was translucent. I thought, that's odd. And I noticed that there was this little bar going across, and there was the handle latch connected to it. And I thought, oh, so that's how you open up the door. Huh, that's clever. And then I looked through the door out, and I saw all the broken glass on the ground, and then the grass at the edge of the road. And it suddenly dawned on me this was not a normal experience. And I said, am I dead? My father was quick to say, no, you're not. But then I felt this man come. And as he approached the car, he smiled and said it much nicer, no, you're not dead. And I felt his hand reach through the car onto my chest. And he sent me this huge amount of energy. I just started filling up with all of this energy that was going through me. I'd been in so much pain at that point, and all of a sudden I was feeling so good. I felt like he loved me, that he actually got me. Because most of my life I feel like people never really quite get me. There's a lot of different aspects to me, but nobody really quite gets me. But this guy got me. And that healing energy felt so good. And when he was done giving me this energy, he said, you're going to live. Yes, this will hurt a while. It'll take time to heal. And you're going to have a fascinating life. And he disappeared. Having only had a lap belt on during that car accident, this resulted in quite a few surgeries as time went on. Umbilical hernia surgery and 4 back surgeries. The third one was particularly difficult because it was a 2-level fusion at that point. They put titanium rods and screws in my back. I had to learn to walk again. It took me 6 weeks before I could even get just to the next door. It was only like 20 feet away out my door. But I started recovering. And then I started a business, and the stock market crashed, and pivoted and started another business. And my business partner decided to steal the company from out from underneath me. I'd spent $90,000 fixing up his building so that we could have an executive office suite. And a few weeks before opening, he decided he didn't need me anymore. And he decided to pull out of my business, formed exactly the same business in the same location, because, well, it was his building, and swore he would never pay me back the money. I came home to tell my wife what had happened, and she said, "Wait, we're not getting the money back? We'd mortgaged the house." And I said, "I don't think so." And she said, "That's it, I want a divorce." I'd felt stabbed in the back by my business partner and best friend at the time, and now I was feeling stabbed in through the heart by my wife. In basically about a 5-year period of time, and definitely the stock market had a big impact on all of this crashing, but I went from $900K in net worth down to negative $35K. So now what was I going to do? Decided to go walk about, good Australian thing to do, and try and figure out what the next step was. And as I was driving around through these mountains, I kept thinking, I could drive off the edge. I could end it. Would anyone even care that I was gone? And I really wasn't sure. I mean, you know your parents love you, but they'd already died. So I didn't have them to call and talk to. And as I kept thinking about it, I thought, well, I survived the first car accident, and this car happens to have airbags. So even if I went off a cliff, I probably would have the airbag save me, and then I'd be without a car. Well, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So I finally decided to set the intention that it was time to heal. And I wasn't going to let this stop me. I was going to make a difference with my life. Shortly thereafter, I went down to San Jose, California for a business convention. It was about 800 booths. It was a huge thing. And in one of the very last ones there, I met an energy healer. I looked at her signage. I didn't understand what she was doing. But the moment I took a step towards the healer, time slowed down. And I heard a deep, booming voice say, "Listen, for you have much to learn." And I thought, who is this woman? Her name is Jackie Fertero. And as she started talking about what she was doing, she said, well, I do chakra balancing. And I thought, chakras? I gotta believe in that now? And she talked about past life healings. And I thought, oh, crap, reincarnation too? And then she started talking about how she worked with the masters and in her healing work. And I'm like, golf? What? Well, at least she's got good clientele. But none of what she was saying actually made a whole lot of sense to me. But at the end of the conversation, what I was convinced of was that she was convinced she could help me. I was already convinced I was a mess and needed help. So I signed up for a 6-package deal and scheduled a time to meet. The first time we met, I was really hoping it was going to be in person again, but it turned out that she lived 300 miles away from me. And she's like, oh yeah, I do remote healing. This won't be a problem. And so we went ahead and she said, oh yeah, get comfortable, lie down somewhere. And I said, fine. I went up to the second floor of my house, laid down on my queen-size bed, had her on speakerphone, landline. And she said, all right, I'm going to call on the masters and we're going to start working on you. Still had no idea what she was talking about. Next thing I felt was these pairs of hands lining my body on both sides and one at my head. And spatially, I was having a bit of an issue thinking, wait a minute, so I've got these spirits that are standing through my bed to be able to do this because I've centered myself. And the one at my head, she's got her etheric butt out my second story house here. It was really kind of crazy thinking about the whole thing. I felt them kind of scooping things out of my belly, probably plenty of trauma from that first car accident. And by the end of the session, I felt fantastic, absolutely fantastic. And the only thing I could compare it to, having grown up as a Christian, was baptism, that feeling that you had of cleansing. But now I had a bit of a crisis of framework with my Christian views. How was I going to reconcile this? I mean, Jesus was an amazing healer. There's so much I appreciate about him and his words. But this wasn't exactly something you experience in a Christian church. So now what do I do? And as I thought about it, I thought, well, I'm a tech guy, so anytime there's a new technology and it usually creates some sort of paradigm shift, I just deep dive into it. Let's figure this out. How does this work? How could it be useful in my life and in others? So that's what I did. I started studying Reiki and then psychic awareness classes and then channeling and mediumship with spiritists and spiritualist groups. I studied Diksha. I went into intuition medicine, Aurora Source. And I even found a unity healing group down in Walnut Creek, California. As I kept studying and trying to figure out, well, what was the framework? How does this really work? How can I make any sense of this stuff? I started realizing that although some of them conflicted, mostly on minor points, but it was intention was the basis of all the healing modalities. That was critical to understanding. And I suppose it's worth pointing out, since I mentioned Unity of Walnut Creek, California, Myrtle Fillmore was the one who started off Unity as a healing ministry. So I'm glad we're still in the healing realms here. At one point, I was attending 2 or 3 groups a week. Now, if you're getting a lot of healings and stuff, that's fantastic for yourself. But I also found that I was healing myself while I was also healing others, which was fascinating to me. Anybody ever watch the Robin Williams Patch Adams movie? Yeah. Patch Adams was convinced that if you were at a hospital, you should actually have the patients help another patient, because in the helping, there was healing yourself. And I totally agree with that concept. And that was definitely happening for me. I realized that meditation was another real key. You needed to be grounded. You needed to be aware of all that was around you. And you needed to be open to new perspectives. One of the things that struck me as particularly odd as I was going through all these trainings was that there actually was very little instruction around it. They would give out a concept, and I would go, really? We could do that? Are you kidding me? No way. That sounds fantastic. And then we'd go into a meditative state, and we would just do it, whatever it was. And I thought, wait a minute. So I don't understand how this is working, but I know that we can do it. How does that make any sense? And what I realized is that I was just getting out of the way. I was getting the egoic character that I am, the one that I refer as I got I out of the way and let my soul do what it needed to do because it already knew how to do it. And when you start having a soul perspective, facing the wounds that you have becomes a lot easier. Forgiving yourself becomes a lot easier. In 2 weeks, I will be talking again. It will be about giving the soul a voice. And so I'll go into a little more depth at that point. But in the meantime, the healers, how many healers do I have? Stand up if you're one of the healers in my Divine Healers group. All right, great. Yay. If you don't mind, I would love to have you circle the room so that you can send some good healing energy to the crowd here. Yes, Kalinda's already been doing this since the beginning. Love it. And for the rest of you, if you're willing, stand up. You've been sitting long enough. Yeah, it feels good, doesn't it? And if you're willing, repeat after me. Today I set the intention to heal. I choose to receive the healing light. I choose to let go of my heavy burdens. I choose to forgive those who have hurt me. I choose to forgive myself. I choose to examine and release my limiting beliefs. I am open to a new paradigm. I choose to bring my soul forward and let it lead. For my soul already knows how to do things. I accept this shift in consciousness. I will make a positive difference in my life. And so it is.